Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. What is this, I hear you ask? Well, it may look familiar, and that is because it is my Wolverine MTW-308, and it now looks like this. So I kind of have not done a build video where I'm going through step by step, but I actually do have a video that will come out just of me spray painting this thing, because I think I've done a phenomenal job. And you may agree, you may disagree, but I think this thing looks so cool. Just to give you an overview, I basically they do like a camo set of Rust-Oleum. I'll try and put a link down below to it. But basically it is like a kind of tan color. You've got two different kinds of greens, two different kinds of browns, and it's a spray paint that is designed to go onto metal, to go onto plastic, etc. So I did that. And then I actually, after that, used a kind of clear coat that you need to put over it, a matte finish varnish, because otherwise this does scratch off. And you can probably see here on my scope, it does not seem to be like gripping to the scope in the same way. However, on the actual MTW-308, it really is. And like the texture of it is amazing. Like it's kind of like this, I don't know how to describe it, like a kind of like rough, I don't know, a rough paint that's kind of like, it just feels really, really good. So basically, guys, the kind of upgrades that I've done on this is, or the attachments and upgrades I've done on this is the actual rifle itself I bought. That was about $900, which is a huge amount to spend. It comes with a tank included with it, and obviously this kind of like system here where I've got the Wraith adaptability to put HPA tanks on the end. I got a couple more of these tanks. HK Army make a couple of them. So I got a couple of those. I actually got 5 of these magazines, which magazines they are. They're actually from Wolverine. And as you can see here, it's actually got a stop on empty follower. So when this goes in, and you know what I need to be careful with is that there are some BBs in here. I played with this yesterday at Warped Ops, and I had a lot of fun. But there were some things that I just wanted to talk over as I kind of discuss this build with you and get your thoughts on it. Let me just do this because it does have a BB follower in there. Sorry, a BB like holder that will stop BBs coming out. Let me get this right. There we go. So that's just dropped. In fact, is there another one in there? I just tried to like charge it there because I was like, oh, it's a gas blowback, but it's not. So basically, guys, yeah, so then you've got these magazines, which are actually great. I think it comes actually with a PTS EPM LR, I think it's called, magazine, which is like their 308 version from PTS. But they, since, I think, kind of having those packages sent out, have released these, which are their actual like Wolverine brand, like stop on empty. And it was really good because I spray painted them at the same time, maybe a slightly lighter tone because I did it just straight afterwards. But I actually wanted not just black mag, so I spray painted these. But I bought 2 extra tanks. This came with it. I bought a Vortex Optics LPVO, and that went on it. I actually 3D printed this, which is a throw lever for it. Now, the reason I did that, I'll go into quickly, is because I bought one of these, the fast magnifier, and I thought it was a great idea because I was like, oh, I've got a 1:6 LPVO. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to have a little switch here and I can just zoom in and out 1:6. And it didn't fit the actual like diameter of this actual Vortex optic. It's weird because it has like a Vortex, like one of the circles in it actually says for Vortex optic. So I was like, oh, okay, that's great. This is going to work for sure. Like this one is for Vortex, and I sprayed it before I put it on, which was stupid. But this won't actually fit on over the end here. And so that would sit in place. And then they have this laser module right here, which is pretty cool. That sits on the front, almost like a PEC. And then that would basically attach here and rotate this as I went back and forward. So I was like, oh, that's great. However, it didn't fit. I ended up 3D printing this throw lever because I was trying to replace this. Trying to find a way of making a slightly larger diameter one. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it work before I went and played, but I put this throw lever on here. Unfortunately, this actually came a bit loose, so you can see here it's not actually throwing it. So I've got the original Vortex one that I will put on there instead. I got a Monstrum little Picatinny rail attachment here, and that's actually where I ran my scope cam. So I had my scope cam like that. A lot of the time I will run the scope cam here, but because I had the suppressor on here, and also I was planning on having that switch, I didn't want it to get in the way. So I had that mounted up there. I actually haven't checked out the content from this yet, but get prepared to see it, because I do have some kills on this, or some shots where I've eliminated a player, so that'll be there. But basically I just put a Monstrum one on top. This actually this scope riser and mount came from this little package, so I just kind of used that because I'd already put it on. I put on a Magpul QD release Picatinny rail, and then I actually used this sling with the actual rear sling point. So I ran my kind of regular setup sling. This is one from Wayward Enterprises, I think is the company name. And what's kind of cool is well, not cool, but I've basically put a kind of fast movement pull on here. I don't even know what brand this is. I should know because I've definitely bought them and put them on there. But I put one of those on there, and then I put a single point sling. Oh, actually, I haven't got one on this. Okay, so this I've actually not had a single point on. I wouldn't want a single point really for a DMR build anyway, but I had that. This is a 3D printed little hand stop that I put here. Wasn't sure about this, but I was like, you know what? If I'm going to have that kind of switch here, I want to have something to know where my hand is sitting for that. So didn't really like play into it. It was kind of nice just to have something, but I'm a lot bigger fan of like larger. I was going to put something like this on it instead, which I think would have been better, but I just didn't have time to print it before I left. And then finally I put on this, which was one of the 3D printed suppressors, and I spray painted that at the same time, so it came out in that format. But basically it is looking like that. Oh, sorry, the biggest thing that I did was replace the grip. So the thing with the MTW is it comes in this format with the Wraith stock, it comes with a battery grip. And so what that means is that there is the electronics that are running through here, not an HPA line because you've also got gas going through this way, but the electronics line runs from the lower into the actual pistol grip. And then it basically has a little battery attachment where you can actually put like the CR123 batteries in there and run the electronics of the HPA engine off that. However, I also had a LiPo, like a small one. I'll show you where it is here. I had a small LiPo, which I had from another Airsoft replica, another HPA one, and this has one of those little like HPA connections on it. And basically the battery tray that they give you inside the actual grip is the same connector as that. So basically it just takes away the LiPo and allows you to put two CR123 batteries in there. Now the grip was cool and the grip works really well. It's like comfortable, but I was like, I really want something more vertical, mainly because when I'm holding a DMR, I don't really want that angle on my wrist. I want it to be as like flat as possible. And so I really wanted to put one of these dye-free codes on here. And so what I actually ended up having to do was a lot of Dremel work. I ended up basically taking the other one off. That battery kind of like compartment is a tray that only fits into that hand grip. So I couldn't just take that tray out and put it in. Got rid of the battery tray. I've got it, but I got rid of that, put the battery tray sort of with that grip elsewhere, removed that from the line so I could use this. And then I had to drill a hole, and I can probably try and show you. That's where now the electronics line is coming out. But I had to drill a hole through the top of the dye-free Co actual pistol grip, and then I had to run that line through there because obviously I needed to be able to get something to the line. I then had to Dremel out the back of this little what is it called, the what are they called, little strap at the back, and I can't remember what it's called, chicken strap, no, something like that. I basically had to like Dremel out the inside of that to make it fit on the body of this, and it works really well. Like, I'm so happy with how it ended up. It was a lot of like trial and testing and like, oh, I'll skim a little bit off here. Oh, is that gonna fit? No, maybe I'll get a little bit off here, because it's pretty hard to like work out what it is, but you can definitely see where the grip is rubbing as you're putting it on. And then just originally it would have gone on, but the angle, it would have had a big gap here. So I needed to basically remove enough material to get it close in. But that's kind of where that sits now. And I was really, really happy. Like, ergonomics wise, this thing feels really, really good. Like in the hand, it's basically, obviously, you know, you've got your ambi controls for an AR platform, which I'm very, very used to, as most people are. And then you also have like that longer length. Obviously, I've got the HPA here, so I can vary the FPS on here very easily. And so what I did is I got there early. I actually ended up running 0.43s in here. And I would actually say the hop up in there, it just about works with a 4.3. I probably, if I'd go and do it again or when I next play, will use 4s, just because I kind of want a little bit of overhop just so that I can get a bit more distance. This was kind of keeping it flat for a very long time, but it wasn't ever giving me any like real lift off of it. So I couldn't really get the distance that I would have done with a lower weight BB, if that makes sense. So I ran 0.43s in it. I actually had this up to 350 FPS with that. So it's about 500 FPS on a 0.2. So you got that like, what, 2.3 joules. So it was firing like as hot as the field would allow it. And the great thing I think with HPA is that actually I could like tinker it and just change it so that it was firing at like 340, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna turn it up a little bit. Fired at 370, I'll turn it down a bit. Got it to like 346 to 349, and this thing is super consistent. It would just go and go and go, and the variance in terms of FPS was probably between about 1 and maybe maximum 5 FPS. So it was really, really good. Chronoed it. The guy was like, great, but it's 100-foot minimum engagement because that's what it is with a 500 FPS. I was like, that's not bad. I'll go with that because that's what I'm here for. My friend Brandon took out my TAC 41P HPA of that. So we both had like little head and shoulder ghillie suits on. Or he had a full ghillie suit. I just had like my head and shoulders cry one. And we went out in the first couple of games. And I have to say, this thing is awesome. It looks awesome. There are a few things for me, which means I'm probably not going to play with this like as my primary regular weapon. Number one is actually, I think the height on this. Like I basically, you know, it's not a low scope, to be honest. Now I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's pretty high up. And the issue that I had was actually getting the sight picture. Like if I rest my cheek onto this stock, which is quite chunky, it means that like I can now see through it. When I've got face protection on, glasses on, and I've got my camera in the way, I was really struggling to find like a clear like location to be able to like constantly just get that eye relief, like pick it up, see exactly where I'm shooting, bang. It was always like a 2-3 second like readjusting my head. All right, have I got the sight picture? I think it is a Vortex optic, so it's a good optic. I think my Sig Sauer one is a lot better, I have to say, just from use of it. But it is definitely a good optic and like very clear to see, but really like getting the sight for it was really bad. It wasn't so bad, you know, like when I zeroed the scope, I went out into the safe zone to start with, tuned the FPS, tuned the hop up, made sure the hop up was going right, and I tuned the scope, and the scope was like, it was accurate, and it was kind of probably shooting at 100 foot within like a foot or two like range, and there was some wind that came up later on, and it definitely was coping with that pretty well with the 4.3s. So it wasn't like the performance was bad, it was the actual like use of it, and I was just getting frustrated where it was like I would try and like put my head further forward and then I pull my head further back, and I'm trying to like get my head down left and right, and I'm so used to like a red dot that I think some of it for sure is like user error. It's me being like, okay, right, well I'm not used to an LPVO like this on a DMR at that range as I am with other stuff. So maybe I just need more practice at it. I have looked at what I'm going to buy as a higher scope riser. So I'm going to have 2 inches on this. So I'm going to make it further up because I think that was a big issue. I don't think that this is actually that bad in terms of getting your cheek on it. Like the thickness of it is not much more than like a regular size, like good size stock. But there is something just about maybe like the angle of not being able to like dig your cheek into it, where I really was having to like rock my head over the top of it as opposed to like pushing it in sideways. So I don't know, like for me, it was frustrating me. And the other thing that like then was an issue was that like I get bored. I have to say, like, I've been playing a lot of CQB indoors recently as well. and I'm watching my like teammates and other players running into buildings and like, you know, having closer up firefights, and then I'm sitting there back and I can't engage closer than where I am, so I'm just watching this through my scope, or trying to, and seeing all of this stuff go on, and it just wasn't that fun. I mean, like, you get a hit and the hit's cool because obviously if you have it on camera, that's great. But actually in the moment, it's like, yes, to yourself, like, oh, I saw that I just got that hit. There's something about when you're like around with all your teammates and like you get kills with them, or like, you know, they see you do something and it's, you know, it's just an ego thing. But it's kind of like, it feels a lot more teamworky. With this, it wasn't like, the first one was an elimination game. We had like a Benghazi, which was like a, you know, you have to defend like the embassy and everyone's attacking you and there's 13 guys. So each time you hit someone, it felt like that was a real like, okay, this person's not going to get medics. They're not going to get revives. Like, I've taken that person out of the play. But generally, I would say people who get hit with a sniper rifle, they're not taking the hits in the same way that you are when you get hit with 2 or 3 shots closer on. That's just life. Like, oh, was that a ricochet? Was it not? Oh, did that actually hit me? Probably not, so I'm just not going to take it. There's a lot more frustration in regards to that for sure, and I just don't like sitting back. What I might actually end up doing with this thing is putting the LPVO on it and then running it at something like 450. So trying to get that like engagement distance like put down a bit, and then I could kind of like play that intermediate role, more of really a DMR role where this thing's locked to semi anyway, or even just run it at 400. And I think the hop in this is really good. The consistency is really good. And then just run it as if it's a normal replica. Just take the view of like taking a bit more distance and like a bit more controlled shots. But then again, I will get bored again. I know myself, and I know that that's going to happen. So, the other thing is like the length of it, I think. Like the stock length is kind of annoying, and I think that might have been part of it. Now I have found maybe a remedy for this. I found a 9 CI, 9 cubic inch tank instead of this 13 one, and therefore that is going to apparently take 2 inches off the end of here. So I can still adjust this sliding piece on here, but I can basically take 2 inches off the end, which means that I could keep it a lot more shouldered in closely, which is what I like. So And this uses very little gas. Obviously, it depends how much you're spamming the trigger because it is semi-auto, but it uses very, very little gas. And so I think you can very easily run it on a 9 cubic inch tank. Maybe I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, let me know. But I think that's probably where I'm going to go. I've ordered 2 of those, so I'm going to test those out. And that's basically going to take the length, hopefully, optional length down to here. Because right now, that tank is right at the back there, so I think that's going to help a little bit. Hop up, again, I ran it on 4.3s, it hopped, but I don't think, I might try and like put a new hop rubber in here. I think the performance was great, like the accuracy was really good, got definitely a few eliminations with it, but I would say I may try and put the hop up a bit to try and get a little bit more lift. I mean, like, it's like the sound of it when it's going is, I don't really want to... Should I fire it for you? Yeah, I'll fire it for you. 1 second. I'm going to pause and I'll come back. Okay, so I've just opened that door. My only concern is I think there might be a BB in the chamber, so I just don't want to fire it inside and then have this noise go. So I'm just going to put this in here. I'm going to fire it out the door so we don't have that issue. And then you guys can kind of get an idea of the sound of it, because I've realized me sitting here just talking about it might be getting a bit boring, so you might want to actually hear. So the cool thing with the Diefrico plug at the bottom, and you'd need to get one of these if you buy a Diefrico, what are they called? The Kung Fu grip, is you can literally just put that there. I can just tuck it in here with the wires on one side, the battery on the other. Sits right in there. It's solid. There's no movement in it. And then when this is, let me just make sure that's on. Yep. So when this is here, let me just, that is on. Oh, you know why? Because it's got a mag empty in there. So let's go with this now. So you can hear that there, like how quiet that is. And the trigger response is really like, it's a little give and then there's a wall. Super light, like there's literally nothing. So when you're using it, it is really like, and it's very, very satisfying. Like you're getting feedback in terms of like there's a noise, but it's not giving you the recoil and it's not giving you like an AEG whine. So it's kind of like somewhere in between. And with like a very quiet DMR like this, with the little suppressor or looking suppressor thing on the end, I think it does work quite well. I do like it a lot. So what I'm thinking about maybe doing is I'm going to try that 9CI tank on it. I'm going to get a riser for it. The other thing I'm going to potentially do is get the stock that will do the recoil. Now they have a new stock and it's called a Quake stock. It's sold out now at the moment, so I can't get hold of it. But basically it takes some of the air pressure and pushes it into the stock. So it's forcing up to like 35 pounds back into you. Now I don't think it's gonna make the same like clack that a gas blowback's gonna make. And obviously you're not getting the bolt movement. But apparently like as you're firing, the recoil is very like, it's probably better in terms of recoil than it is on a gas blowback in terms of realism. Not like a real steel, not as much as that, but a lot better. So what I'm thinking I might do is do that, put that stock on there, which means I get that recoil, and then I'll get the base plate here or the sling plate, which just has the HPA line. So I'll have that option of like switch it to that Quake stock with the HPA air line. I'll just run that in my backpack and I'll be all good. Or I turn around and I do the 9CI tank, and I think I can switch between those. So it kind of gives me two options. But to sum it up, guys, like I'm really, really happy with this. Build-wise, that's what I'm going to do to it. Hop up rubber. Maybe I'll look at the inner barrel just in case there's something else I want to do there. Might put a Smoky Wolf suppressor on here just so I get that like effect. But I have to say, like, I'm really, really impressed. For like the money that you're paying for it, you're basically getting an HPA rifle all ready to go. Like you've got the battery input, you've got the tank, you've got everything. You don't need a regulator, you don't need lines, you don't need anything like that. So for that 900, it's a lot of money for an Airsoft replica, but you're getting something that is built really well, it's performing really well, and you've got an HPA setup. Like all you need to do is put two CR123 batteries in it and fill up this tank and you're good to go. So, and I also found something which I'm going to test out in another video, which is a hand pump for HPA. Now, apparently it takes like 7 minutes of constant pumping to do a 3000 tank like this. So we'll see if that actually works out. But I was like, hey, that's kind of good for a DMR. It's not going to work if you've got an LMG, but for a DMR, I'll literally just be at home, like, damn, my tank's out. I need to go and get some more air. I have to drive to e-Vike or to somewhere else to like get it done, a scuba shop. Now, hopefully with that, I can just literally put some pumps in it, get it up to like 2000, take some shots and just kind of use that as I want. So yeah, foregrip probably change, suppressor maybe change, but I actually like how this looks. Scope riser I'll change, keeping this grip for sure. Maybe get I'll get a 9CI tank or maybe that Quake stock. And other than that, guys, I'm very, very happy. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about this 308, please do let me know in the comments below and I'll try and get to all those as soon as I can. And please let me know any other kind of content you guys want to see. Thank you, guys. Speak soon. Bye-bye.